In life, there are quite a few things that people generally don't like. For example, when your car alarm goes off at 3 in the morning right before your work alarm is about to go off. Another example would be job applications. Who likes those? And of course, lastly, the IRS. Now, I don't think I can help you with the car alarm problem, but the last two things on the list, well, I think I may have found a solution. Our journey today starts as most Rimworld videos do, with my dog being brutally butchered right in front of me as David and Scooby watch in horror and do nothing, because the dog is in the way, of course. This single act filled me with such a blood-curdling rage that I could only satiate it by blowing up the Empire with a Liberator nuke. Don't worry though, Scooby and David put him down right after he killed the dog. Thanks guys. Now, I know you read the title of this video, and no, I wasn't joking when I said that I'm going to blow up the Empire using Liberator nukes. That's my goal here. And yes, it had everything to do with the dog and nothing to do with the fact that I just thought it would be funny. Now, obviously, in order to craft some Liberator nukes, the first thing that we need is a really fucking sick Batman cave. So I had Scooby start excavating the inside of this mountain to build our Batman cave in. Alright, so let's be honest. You guys have watched me build up a Rimworld colony from nothing to blowing up things with nukes plenty of times before. However, this one's a little bit different, and these nukes are a lot more expensive. So I'm going to skip a lot of the beginning stuff and get to the real interesting juicy content, which is crippling amounts of debt. So to build these nukes, one of the things that we're going to need is a lot of money. Now, luckily, one of the vanilla expanded mods that I'm playing with adds this trading console, which you can complete contracts for to earn a lot of money. However, that requires actual work, and I'm not interested. Instead, what I'm going to do is apply for as many loans as physically possible, hoard all the money, and never pay them back. Now, this makes a couple things happen. One, we have tens of thousands of dollars in our bank account, which is pretty sweet. Yeah, that's really the only thing I can think about. I mean, there is also the fact that they want us dead and will start hiring small armies to come rip our bones from our flesh, but that'll come later. For now, we just have tens of thousands of dollars. Now, the first thing I did with all that money was find a giant field full of nature and beauty, and immediately install a deep drill and start extracting uranium from the ground. Remember kids, nature is temporary and becoming a nuclear power is forever. The second thing that I did with my newly acquired wealth was buy David an anti-material rifle and tell him to hunt the local Thrombo population. Now, believe it or not, the Thrombos did not take kindly to being fired upon by an anti-material rifle, and what they did in retaliation was attack David and rip off his arm. Thank you, David, for your sacrifice. We're sure to make a Netflix documentary or something for your sacrifice. It's okay, we had Bo finish off the Thrombo by unloading her entire magazine into it while it was downed right outside of our house. Anyways, moving back to the nukes, David finally finished constructing the research reactor so that I could have Bo sit in the basement for 18 hours a day and stare at ionizing radiation. Now, I know what you're wondering, and no, obviously we did not pay her for this. Now, who I did pay though is this random stranger on the internet that sold me schematics for energy weapons. Now, in the meantime, nature was rebelling, but it's okay because that's what our automated sentry turrets are built for. Now, I know they didn't teach you this in school, but 5.56 bullets have interesting properties when colliding with the skull of a squirrel. It kills the squirrel. Now, while we were taking care of the squirrels, Bo dissolved the retinas of her eyes enough by staring at radiation to figure out how to make an actual reactor core, so that's exactly what we did. Still in our basement, of course. There are certain things that the HOA just simply does not need to know about. Now, for those of you following along at home, first of all, thank you. Second of all, when you're building a nuclear reactor in your basement, there's a couple of rules to follow. First of all, don't ever let the government find out about it. Second of all, don't blow up your local neighborhood. So in order to avoid that, we built some cooling units. And just like that, our nuclear reactor was built. Now, what we did next was have Bo pick up uranium fuel rods with her bare hands and load them into the reactor. I mean, how else are we going to get power? Now, the next step in creating a nuclear bomb is crafting plutonium. However, that takes forever to do, so in the meantime, we're going to need to keep ourselves occupied. So I had David mine up some plasteel. Also, when David got home, they beat him unconscious with guns because he was having a mental break. It's okay, David. Sometimes things like this happen. Now, immediately after David woke up from being beat unconscious with the butt of a shotgun, he was greeted by this man standing in our yard in full recon armor with a chain shotgun. It's okay, all I heard from that was recon armor and chain shotgun, so we promptly shot him and stole it. It's always fascinating to see how generous people become once you shoot them in the left lung with an anti-material rifle. Now, while I have you watch the B-roll of Cat and Bo research energy weapons in the background, it's that time of the video where I have to ask you to please like and subscribe. All of your guys' support means the world to me, and also our last video blew up quite a bit, and it really did make my day. I love reading your guys' comments at work, and it really does get me through the day. I think while I have some time, it's also worth mentioning that our Dead Cells video did so much better than I thought it would. I was asking for about 300 views, and it is currently sitting at like 423, I believe. So you guys really blew that one out of the water, which of course, yes, means that I will be beating Dead Cells on Boss Cell 5 and finishing off all the bosses that I didn't do last time. I've been working on that in the background, although I'm learning how difficult Boss Cell 3 actually is. But I will get that out at some point whenever I'm able to beat it. But while I was busy yapping and rambling in the background, we did finish everything required to get the research for the Liberator nuke, which only costs $6,000, which might sound like a lot, but when you're just stealing money from the bank, that's really nothing. Another major event that happened while we were refining plutonium is the mass amount of pigeons that decided to attack my base. I don't know why they were so angry with me, but they did get gunned down as usual by my machine gun turrets. And right after the pigeons attempted to strike us down, the flu struck down Jimbles. Unfortunately, I did try to save him, but at the end it just looked like there was nothing I could do. So I had him take off all his good armor because I can't lose that, and I had him go work in the fields until he eventually succumbed to the flu. Rest in peace, Jimbles. Your sacrifice will probably be forgotten in the next 5 minutes, but I do appreciate you nonetheless. Also worth mentioning, immediately after Jimbles passed away while mining for me, a boom rat came out of nowhere and consumed his head, and then took a nap right next to his corpse. So, thank you for that, Rimworld. Now, after Jimbles had passed away, it would seem that my antics had finally caught up with me, because the Empire of the Sun sent a bunch of furries cracked up on meth and equipped with power armor and knives to tear me apart. Now, I'm not going to play it up or drag it out. The furries did not last very long. Once again, 556 is quite effective when colliding with furries, just as it is pigeons and squirrels. So, they did flee quite quickly, and we of course left their bodies out on the field to show anybody else that it's really not worth it. Now, despite me displaying dead furries in my yard, that did not deter the debt collectors from coming once again. Now, I had to do an age-old tactic here where I equipped a 16-year-old with armor and a machine gun and had him hold down the riverbank while David sat behind him using an anti-material rifle to pick people off that are on the other side of the river. This is a pretty effective strategy, so if any of you owe money to the IRS, I would definitely try doing this. It worked very well for me, and it had the debt collectors fleeing in under 50 seconds, so if you have a 16-year-old and a submachine gun around the house, I think you're going to be okay. Now, at this point, I was getting pretty tired of constantly being raided by debt collectors, so I banned a small nuclear bomb in my basement to show them how much I really didn't appreciate their company, and it was quite the deterrent. However, it would appear that I made it just in time, because the next day we were attacked by the actual Empire. They were attacking us directly. So, I did what any sane man would do, and I launched a nuclear bomb at the people trying to collect their debts from me. I also mowed the rest of them down with machine guns, and just like the last strategy, this has seemed pretty effective the entire game. Now that I had the Empire fleeing from my base, there's somebody that I want you to meet. This is Legend, and we found him on a random street curb, but his life is about to become a lot more interesting, because I'm going to load him into this transport pod, and I'm going to shoot him directly at the Empire. Now, why am I doing that, you might ask? That would be because my Liberator nuke is finally finished. That's right, while I was being attacked constantly by the raiders and the debt collectors, I was refining plutonium in the background. And all that plutonium is finally finished. Now, the Empire is about to get to see what it feels like to get hit by a real nuke, and a homeless man in a transport pod. Now that Legend was on his way, all I had to do was send the actual nuclear warhead. Decided to aim it directly in the center because with the nuke, I mean, you really can't miss, except for when I missed earlier on the Empire and nailed the dead body with it instead. But this one's just slightly larger than the last one, so hopefully I don't miss with this one. Now, I told Legend to hide behind this weird cliff face while he was being bombed with artillery shells, but it's not like it really mattered. I just told him that to feel better because he got a nuclear bomb dropped on his head about 15 seconds later, and believe it or not, that's not exactly compatible with life. But with that, the Empire was reduced to ashes. There was nothing left of them, as you can see here. Also, nothing left of that homeless man, but you know what? He died a hero, so it's okay. And there you have it, folks. If you owe $72,000 in total to the Empire, all it takes is one nuclear bomb and they'll leave you alone forever. Thanks for watching. Alright, now as is becoming a bit of a tradition around here, I'm going to end off this Rimworld video with once again annihilating my base because it's hilarious, and I think it's a good way to end the video. But I'm also just going to use this time while we watch everybody die in nuclear fallout to talk a little bit about my channel. It's been blowing up recently. I know that for a lot of people 400 views isn't exactly blowing up, but in my mind it is. I remember a time when I would post and I had to wait 5 days just to get 10 views. So seeing 400, like I said, especially while I'm at work, really does make my day. And I can't thank you all enough. Somebody did in the comments suggest that I play Risk of Rain. I am going to do that. That's going to come out right after a Factorial video that I'm going to make. I'm playing Factorio for the first time on Death World, so if that's something that you'd be interested in, that's going to be coming out about a week from now. But yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you for watching all. Remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day.